When is the last time you received a physical letter in your physical mailbox that you were happy to see? I can't remember the last time. It seems like we don't write letters to each other anymore, and mostly all I receive is junk mail and bills. Well, in this episode, I'm going to talk about a new snail mail publishing platform that could be interesting for your business. I'm Larry Cornett, and this is Invincible Solopreneurs. One of my online acquaintances, Isabel Stern, Sterne, is really active and successful on LinkedIn. And so if you go to LinkedIn, you can find Isabel, Isabel Sterne. You can find Isabel Stern. She's hilarious. She's really funny. She helps people with marketing, branding, kind of reinventing their LinkedIn presence, reinvigorating their profile, helping them with their strategy for posting, all that kind of stuff. But she is really funny. So Isabel had recently mentioned this cool platform called StampFans, and she publishes a physical letter through StampFans. It intrigued me. It really intrigued me. The concept of getting physical mail again and sending physical mail to people sounded interesting. So I checked it out. And if you go to stampfans.com, STAMPFANS, you can learn more about it. And I'm testing it myself. I've set up a StampFans account, getting ready to send out my first letter tomorrow. So they call themselves a snail mail publishing platform for writers. I don't know why I'm getting tongue-tied with that. And it says that StampFans is the most personal way to connect with your audience and get paid for your writing. So this is the interesting part. You don't have a free version of your letter because it's not free to mail things, right? So unlike Substack, which I use and love, you can't have a free version that you send to people. So it is only paid. But it's interesting. It's very interesting. So as a business owner, as a solopreneur business owner, this might fit into your model. There might be something that you would like to send monthly. This is only sent once a month to potential customers, to your clients, to whatever it might be. And you can think of like some of the stuff that you've probably received in the past that you find useful. It kind of goes into different categories of, is this informational? Like, is this something that is useful information that I'm going to share with you, useful enough that you're willing to spend, at least $3. Most people charge like $5 or $6 for their monthly letter that goes out. So some kind of information that's useful for people. You could think about it like financial information. I know I follow a few folks who talk about investment advice, what's happening with the stock market, what's happening internationally, like what's happening with the growth of business in China, you name it. So it's useful information. As a business person, as an investor, you name it. Is it worth paying for? You bet. Then there's educational information. So maybe you are teaching people how to do something, and it's how-to information. You can think of it like a micro book. It can be up to 8 pages, double-sided. So it could be like a little DIY micro book. The founder and CEO just shared this cool example of these old blue books that used to go out that taught people little things, like how to change a tire and how to do plumbing and how to travel across America and save money on lodging, you name it. They used to go out many, many years ago, and it's kind of fun and exciting, kind of cool. So there's educational information, how-to information. And then there's finally just entertainment. And I do see a lot of examples of this where it's short stories, it's poetry, various types of fiction, humorous essays, you name it. And people have been spending money on entertainment types of print forever, right? People bought comic books, and you can do graphics, by the way. So you can have, this is printed full color. So you could do this as a mini comic book, an illustrated short novel, short story. I'm starting to think about it that way too. I'm thinking I have a lot of stuff I write. Not all of it's related to career. Not all of it's related to business. I do write some fiction too. So this could be an interesting way to publish serialized fiction, and in kind of a fun way. So instead of the usual, go read this online and try to look at it on your phone, or have it be surrounded by a bunch of competing noise and ads and banner ads and pop-up ads and all the miserable stuff that happens with online reading now. They receive a physical letter. They receive a physical letter. And so it can be this document that's a full short fiction story, which I think is kind of intriguing. And so I'm interested in playing around with this. And then I'm thinking at the end, yeah, I could bundle all of these together because I have the digital versions, obviously. I generate a PDF to do this. So I have the digital versions. I could bundle all these stories together into a short story collection. And I could put that on Amazon to sell it. I could give the subscribers a free copy of this book as a way of saying thank you for being a subscriber. So all kinds of things that you could do with this, all kinds of things. So it's just an idea for you to think about how to reach an audience that you normally wouldn't reach this way, or to provide unique value to people in a way that's refreshing, kind of bringing back and making what's old new again. I saw that, if you're familiar with The Onion, it's a satirical online newspaper with satirical kind of fake stories that seem somewhat real. People often say, is this an Onion article or is this reality? Guess what? They just started publishing a physical version of the Onion newspaper. So you can subscribe and have a physical newspaper delivered to your home that is all these Onion stories. And for those of us that are a little bit older, we're like, we've been down this road before, right? So, I mean, I kind of miss it. There's a little bit of a nostalgia component because everything I get in my physical mailbox now, with the exception of stuff I've ordered on Amazon, for example, is usually something I don't want to see. So I get ads and flyers, real estate. People are always trying to sell me homes, bills, lots and lots of bills, letters from the IRS. No one writes me anymore. We used to write each other. When I was younger, we wrote letters to each other. My parents wrote me letters while I was in college. I wrote them letters. When I was going through Army basic training, I wrote my girlfriend letters. She wrote me letters. There was a lot of physical letter writing and reading. It was nice. It was so exciting to get a letter in the mail from someone. It was like a little treat, a little treasure that you got. And that all vanished. And so there's definitely a nostalgia component here for those of us that remember that. For younger people, it's something entirely new. There are a lot of younger people that have never received something like this. Maybe they get a birthday card from their grandparents because grandparents still love physical birthday cards. But I seriously doubt anyone that's under the age of 30 has written and received a handwritten letter from someone. I really doubt it. Maybe. If you have, let me know. But this is intriguing. This is intriguing. So I wrote kind of a first Stamp Fans letter that was a bit about this, but more about making money from a newsletter. So this is something that, as a business owner, or as a person who's interested in creating a lifestyle business, you might be interested in. Because finding different ways to fund your freedom It doesn't always have to mean opening a retail location, selling products, selling services. It can be other ways of making money. And I highly recommend diversified revenue streams. I'm always talking about this. The best way to fund your freedom is to start to build up all of these revenue streams that when they accumulate, they start to become a way to replace your 9 to 5 income. And it provides diversification. Now, I don't recommend that you try to do 100 different things when you're first starting a business. You try things, you test, see what's sticking, and you find ways for each of these to kind of support and feed into each other. I often talk about what I call my content factory. This is something that I had mentioned, and I think I shared different diagrams of how this works in the Solopreneur workshop that I had a few months ago. I like to create content that can be repurposed and reused and flow through my content factory and into my distribution channels so that it's used over and over again. I don't like throwaway creation and content. I don't want to write something that I use once and it never has value ever again. And if you've been following my other newsletters, my career newsletter and career podcast, my Invincible Life podcast, I've been doing this for, maybe 8 years. So I've been writing a lot of articles about how to build an invincible career, how to create an invincible life, how to become more invincible as a human being so that you have better options in life and you don't feel vulnerable. So I've written a lot of stories about this over the years. And rather than using them once and goodbye, they're gone, never see them again after all that, I've compiled those into a book. So all of that has been compiled into a rather large book. And then, I rewrote a lot of it and I extended it and kind of was trying to create connective tissue between the chapters, of course. And I'm still in the editing process. It's a long book. It's going to be a big book. So it's taken a while. But every time I write an article, the article becomes additional content that I share through social media. So little snippets and tips. Many of the articles become podcast episodes. And so I will read and expand upon the article and have a lot of examples. Like right now, I'm just talking off the top of my head to share with you. And it becomes a podcast episode. All of my podcast episodes become videos that are immediately published and streamed up to my YouTube channel. So I have a YouTube channel of all my podcast episodes with the audio. I do infographics and illustrations that I reshare. I compile stuff back into books, like I said. Some of this content gets woven into courses and workshops and workbooks and guides. So there's a lot of content reuse going on. And that is very important because as a solopreneur business owner, you don't have a big team. You don't have a content creation team. You don't have a social media team. You don't have people who are taking all this and doing something with it. It's you. And so you have to use your time wisely and your creative energy wisely. So you're not doing throwaway work. You really don't want to be doing throwaway work. It's hard to justify that, and it's not the best use of your time. So one of the things that I recommend for everyone, I recommend this for people who are interested in having a more invincible career, to position themselves as experts, to build an audience and an awareness so that they are writing and creating this habit of writing and sharing their expertise and their experience and like why they're so great at what they do. A newsletter is a great way to do that. And the nice thing about having a newsletter is it has an online version too. So it's like having a blog. And like I said, it creates a podcast and videos, you name it. I will say the same thing for any business owner. You probably are watching some of the larger corporations have a lot of presence. They have a lot of useful articles online. They have DIY. They have customer stories. They have all kinds of stuff around their products and services. And then that all gets distributed into different channels, right? They're on Instagram and they're on TikTok and YouTube and you name it, which generates big awareness. It creates this marketing funnel. so that people are following this content back. They're learning more about the product or service, and then they're purchasing it, right? Become a customer. So as a solopreneur, this can work to your advantage as well. And so I shared some examples of people that are making some serious money from their newsletters. And I'm not saying that this could be your one and only source of income. It's possible. If you really want to devote time to this, it is possible for this to be a pretty decent amount of income. I'm not going to share all of this because then I would be kind of borrowing, and stealing from my Stamp Fans subscribers. But one of the top newsletters on Substack is earning around $5 million a year. Yeah, I'm going to pause. $5 million a year in subscription revenue. 2 additional ones, and I verified one of these because I met somebody, I'm working with someone who actually knows the owner of this newsletter and verified some of these numbers. They are generating over $1.5 million in revenue a year from their subscriptions. And it also feeds into their podcast, and they have people who sponsor their podcast. So it's additional revenue. So one of these folks is making millions a year from this content. There's a fairly new person that just came on the scene. They're a journalist, and they said, I've had enough. This person quit their 9-to-5 job. Had enough. I get it. I'm tired of corporations. This person was tired of these media companies. And they're already making around $300,000 a year from their subscribers. And there are several more examples of people that are making low six figures. Somebody who shares recipes every week and then shares a cookbook later, that kind of thing. Believe it or not. So, what I kind of mentioned in this Stamp Fans was like, what about us normal folks? It's like, I'm not a big journalist. I don't dedicate 100% of my time to my newsletter. So I didn't come with this massive pre-existing audience when I started writing the newsletter. When I built my business, I knew having a connection with my customers was important. And so I knew that I wanted a newsletter, but I didn't take it super seriously. I kind of put stuff out occasionally, once in a while, so not as often as I do now, right? I'm not putting stuff out every week. But it still grew. It grew, and I'm definitely not making millions from my newsletter. But I do make a few $1,000s a year from my newsletter and my Medium folks that are looking at my Medium articles. And it varies, right? It can be kind of significant. It does not fully support me by any means, but it's a decent amount of money. I was surprised. I'm making good money. But more importantly, and this is what someone else mentioned too. They said, yeah, I make some money from my paid newsletter, but it's really about the fact that it drives engagement to buy my books. Another person says, this is really my marketing tool. And it is for me too. So I share a lot of this content, like this podcast, for free, because I want to reach as many people as possible. I want people to get value from what I'm sharing, to get ideas from what I say, and to say, hey, this guy's, pretty nice guy. He's pretty helpful. I should look into what it would cost me to hire him as a coach. I should look into joining his premium communities. It would be nice to be with a group of people who are very supportive and helpful versus feeling like I'm on my own on this solopreneur journey, on my own, trying to figure out my career. And what I really like about it is that a newsletter platform, when you write something and you send it to your list, it goes to everyone. It ends up in everyone's mailbox. There are some issues with spam filters and deliverability, but really it's meant to end up in everyone's mailbox. Substack doesn't say, we're only going to send this newsletter to 10% of your subscribers. That's exactly what social media does. That's exactly what Twitter does, Facebook does, LinkedIn does, Instagram. I'm sure you've experienced this. That only a fraction of the people who follow you, that are your friends, see your content. That's intentional. It is really hard to get all of your followers and friends to see all of your content. It's impossible unless you have something go super viral. So I do know several people who are investing a ton of time in their newsletter and their newsletter business. And some of them do other things too, kind of feeding into that, like my newsletter coach, right? And I shared some examples of people who are kind of surprised that within a year or a couple of years, they replaced their 9 to 5 income, that they're making 6 figures. And I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting that this is your one and only business, but I am saying you really need an email list. You really need a connection to your potential customers and to your existing clients and customers. And I've shared this story before. I had originally been using Facebook groups as my community. A lot of people did, many people still do. And I had a Facebook group for my Invincible Career Community, for example. Well, one day I opened Facebook and I'm locked out of my account. My Facebook account was suspended with no warning, no explanation. I could not get in touch with support. I couldn't figure out why I got suspended. And if you follow me on Facebook, you know I don't share anything terrible. I was like, oh no, I cannot communicate with my community. I can't even tell them that something's wrong. I was like, have I lost everything? Have I lost basically the community aspect of my business? So I was messaging friends that worked at Facebook and I was contacting. I was like, why am I suspended? What's going on? How do I get it back? And then a week later, I kept checking in every day. A week later, suddenly my account was working again. I could get back into my account. I could get back into the community. Zero explanation. I never found out why I was suspended. So I could never figure out how to not have it happen again. I was like, that's it. That is it. I am moving my community off Facebook. And more importantly, I'm going to really invest in my newsletter. Because Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, you could get suspended. You could actually get your account terminated and lose access to everyone. It is very hard to download your connections from these platforms. They make it impossible. You're like, oh, I can download my LinkedIn data. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You know what does not come down with your LinkedIn connection data? Their email addresses, their phone numbers, ways to connect with these people. It used to. Doesn't anymore. People can say, please don't include that information. So I downloaded a list and I think there was no contact information for anyone, the thousands of people I'm connected to. So I would have to spend who knows how much time trying to figure out how to reconnect with these people somewhere else. And it's not even just about social media. I use Medium. I do recommend, as always, to diversify your platforms and your distribution channels. So I write once and share everywhere. I have an article I write. It goes to Substack. It's a newsletter. It's a podcast. It's a video on YouTube. And it goes to Medium. I share it as an article on Medium, which has an entirely different audience. And Medium has driven some consulting business for me. And I do get paid a little bit for my Medium stuff too. But I'll tell you, I have over almost 6,000 followers on Medium, which is okay. I'm no giant person on the platform with hundreds of thousands of followers or millions. But I have almost 6,000 followers, and my most recent story there received, guess how many views? 20 views. It's like, are you kidding me? It's like, you didn't show my article to a fraction of the people that said they wanted to follow me in my writing. It's ridiculous. So again, the email list solves that problem. So you can make money directly from your newsletter. You can decide, you can build an email list and maybe when you reach 1,000 or 2,000 people, you're like, you know what, I'm going to turn on a paid version of this so that I can start having premium subscriptions. You could do it earlier. A lot of people wait. They wait. And I think it makes sense to wait to figure out, what am I really writing about? What is my theme, my central topics? What do I want to do and what's the value I want to provide if I provide a written or a premium version of the newsletter? That's fine. I turned on premium pretty early. I'm trying to remember. I think maybe I had 200, 300 subscribers. I was like, you know what? I'm going to turn on premium and have additional content that I share every week, which would be kind of these premium homework exercises to help people with professional development and advance their career. These challenges that made people get comfortable with things like public speaking and writing and connecting with people and networking, you name it. And people paid, people subscribed. So you don't have to wait until you have thousands of people. You can have the value and you can say, if you're interested, sign up. If you're not, don't. It's no hard sell, right? It's no hard sell at all. So you can definitely make money from a paid version of your newsletter. But like I said, more importantly, it is about using this as a really direct marketing channel that you can reach people way better than other platforms. So it's fantastic. And it's a great way to reach people that really are interested in you and your products and your services and your business. You can do advertising, but I tell you what, I've done advertising and you end up spending a whole lot of money for very little click through and trying to tune things. And it's not people who are already ready for what you offer. So a lot of them bounce. It's very different when you built a relationship with people through your newsletter. So a lot of people are hearing this, and I can hear some of you thinking this is like, I have no idea what to write about. What would I even say? Who wants to hear what I have to say? And I think you'd be surprised. I think if you poke around Substack and you look at something like Stamp Fans and browse the writers, you're going to see a really diverse and wild set of stuff that people write about. And like on Stamp Fans, for sure those people are getting paid for those letters. People are paying $6 a month to receive that. You have a lot of stories to tell from your life. You have lived a life that most people have no idea what all the details are. All the life experiences you've had, all the challenges you've faced, things that you could help them overcome. You could help people overcome those challenges. You've learned things through your education, through school. If you went to college, there's things that you could share. And your work experiences, right? You've learned so much through work. So there's a lot that you could write about, talk about, and then once you start, the wheels get turning, right? And it does come down to a few things. So you could start with writing what you already know. You know it really well. You could talk about it for hours. It could be stuff about your profession, for example. If you've been doing what you do for like 10 years or more, you have a lot to talk about as a designer, as a product manager, as a salesperson, as a healthcare professional, as a fitness instructor. You have a lot you could talk about. It could be stuff that you're learning. One thing that people do is they're like, I'm going to share with you my journey. I'm learning all about artificial intelligence, the different platforms, ways to leverage it, what works best. And as they are learning, they're sharing with their readers. So they don't know everything right now. They are sharing their learning journey and educating other people along the way. It's fantastic. It's a great way to write a newsletter. And then there's the pure entertainment, as I had mentioned. Pure entertainment. Funny stories, fiction, poetry, you name it. So yeah, some of the examples I've seen, somebody has the cookbook. I think I mentioned that, the recipes, there's the poetry discussing politics, investment advice, helping people find jobs in tech, you name. And that's not me, that's somebody else. And the good news is you can change over time. So you may want to start talking about one thing, and then over time you're like, yeah, I'm kind of tapped out and people aren't that interested. I'm going to shift. And the one thing you could do, which more people should do, ask your audience. Solicit questions, ask for feedback. Say, what would you like me to talk more about? What do you want me to stop talking about? It's one of the reasons I end up splitting my newsletters. Because I was writing a whole bunch of stuff within my career newsletter, and I started talking about entrepreneurship. And I talk a lot about health and wellness and fitness because I think it affects you. And I think it affects your career. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to burn out. But people kept saying, I don't want to hear about entrepreneurship. I just want to hear about how to get a job. And the people who are interested in entrepreneurship, like all of you listening, are saying, I don't care about getting a job. I already have a job. I don't want another job. I want to start a business. I want to break free. And so I ended up creating the career newsletter as one entity, the solopreneur newsletter and podcast as another one, and then the life one too, because I talk about health and wellness and family and all kinds of philosophical stuff. And a lot of people didn't want to hear it with the career and solopreneur, but I still want to talk about it. So yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg, but I encourage you to check out substack.com, which is what I use. You can go to newsletter.invinciblesolopreneurs.com and you can read more about this. I'll share some links to the platform. There's other platforms too, and I've used many over the years like MailChimp and ConvertKit. I have backup stuff on Email Octopus. I've looked into Ghost, you name it. At the end of the day, Substack had the best price model because it's absolutely free. You just share a percentage of your earnings with them. If you start charging up until that point, they don't charge you anything. There's no monthly fee. A lot of the other platforms will charge you a monthly fee. So you're going to be paying money even if you're making no money. You're going to be paying money even if you have hardly any subscribers. It's not really fun to be doing that. Substack is free. Substack has an online version of your article. Substack has discovery features. Substack has free podcast hosting. You tell me what other platform does have that. Because I was paying a lot of money for podcast hosting before, and now I don't have to. And as a solopreneur business owner, it sure is nice to streamline your expenses. It really is. So anyway, check it out. The one thing I will say is some advice that my newsletter coach gave me, and everybody should have a coach. Yes, I have a newsletter coach. I have other coaches. Coaches have coaches. He told me, he said, if you're going to have a premium newsletter, just remember, people don't want more email. So no one wants to pay to get more email in their inbox. They have too much email. They want something that provides unique value. Make it unique. Provide value, and they'll pay for that. They don't want just more, which is why I changed what I do. So I no longer do that challenge email that I talked about. I don't do that anymore. When people upgrade to be a premium subscriber to my newsletter, they get an invite into my private community, my Discord community. Same with solopreneurs. I do it for career. I also do it for Invincible Solopreneurs. So if you are a premium subscriber to my newsletter.invinciblesolopreneurs.com newsletter, I send you an invite into my private Discord community. And we have office hours every week on Mondays. The whole community's there to answer questions and to give you feedback on all kinds of stuff. Like, here's my pricing I'm thinking about. What do you think? Here's my landing page for my business and my product. What do you think? It's great. It's nice to have a community that helps support you in this journey, because it can be a lonely journey, but it doesn't have to be. So I wish you the best of luck with this, and I highly recommend you check it out. So go to substack.com and start looking into having your own newsletter for your business. Until next time, I wish you the best of luck with building the business of your dreams.